Wow. Wow. Okay, maybe it is a bit too loud on my end. I'm just gonna put you a bit lower. Hello everybody, this is the Finn. Hopefully the mic isn't too loud. I am actually speaking as softly as I can. Hopefully the mic isn't increasing the gain a bit too much. Today is going to be a very comfy stream. At least I hope it's actually comfy. We're going to be doing some reading today. Just a little bit of lighter reading. I actually genuinely do not know how I'm supposed to be doing this stream actually. I mean, I had the idea to do it, but I don't know how I'm supposed to actually do it. Yeah. So... oh god, I gotta get rid of that verbal tick. I wanted to do the stream because... way back when I was a kid, I was an avid reader of a lot of books. But since I got older, I don't know, getting busy with schools, getting addicted to the internet and stuff. The older I get, the lazier I get about reading, and over time, I kinda just forgot about books and pretty much how to read. Well, although my love for books never disappeared, over the years I did buy quite a lot of books. A lot of books that I ended up never reading because, you know, reading takes too much time. I actually have a lot of books still in my box that's still in their original wrapping. Tempted to actually open one up just so that I can smell those new books smell, but I'll try not to. I got a lot of other books that I needed to read. Well, books that I should finish. I still haven't finished my Lord of the Rings book yet. Excuse me. All 3 books, all in one. Honestly, it's not that big, frankly speaking, because back in the days I used to read all 7 Harry Potter books from start to finish in about a month or so. So it's kind of a little bit mind-boggling that, well, the Lord of the Rings book that I have right now, the 3 LOTR compilation book, they are only about as big as the 5th book of Harry Potter. But I can't finish it for whatever reason. Although I think I know why, because J.R.R. Tolkien, I think that's his name, hold on. Yeah, that's his name. Tolkien wrote his book in a very weird Old English way. Although I'm not even sure if it's actually Old English, but he wrote it in a really weird way that it's kind of difficult for me to read it. Not to mention that I don't really speak English very well, because, you know, second language and all. Yeah. I'm doing the stream because I really want to get back into reading. Yeah, getting back into reading in any way possible. Not sure if this is the best way to do it, but if I can do it while streaming at the same time, hey, 2 birds in 1 stone, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, like I said, I actually really don't know how I'm supposed to do this. thought about just doing some sort of talking stream where I read the books on the side together with the viewers. You know, you guys. Ah, shit. Yeah, crap. Hold on. Hello? Testing? Hello? Testing? OBS 1 2 3. Is it okay? I think it's okay. I'm gonna give it 5 seconds. 1 2 3 4 5. Okay. I think it's fine now. Okay, OBS is still alive. Thank God. Yeah. I thought about doing like, you know how people usually do a movie watch along where they watch along a movie together with their audience. Everyone opens up their own movie from, you know, Netflix or Amazon or whatever, and then they watch it together, and then, you know, just watch it together like friends do. So I was thinking about doing it like that, but for reading. But unlike movies, not everybody reads at the same speed. And yeah. And then that's pretty much a problem there. Also, books or, you know, reading kind of really takes quite a long time, especially considering I'm not a primary English speaker or reader or whatever. My reading speed is actually quite slow. So even for a short story like The Time Machine, actually I think it's short, it's only 77 pages. Excuse me, I just had dinner. Yeah, even for a short story like The Time Machine, I'm not sure I'll be able to finish it in 1 hour, which is probably fine. I mean, I can always continue to read some other time, but yeah. Gosh darn it. OBS, are you alright? You know what, maybe I should restart OBS. Yeah, you know what, I'm going to restart OBS just a little bit. Okay, BRB. Is it okay? I hope it's okay. Is it okay? Hello. Okay. I think it's okay. Yeah. Okay. I think it's the new update that they have that's making OBS drop its connection quite frequently, which is kind of annoying. I'm not sure if there's a way to roll it back, but you'll probably fix it somehow. Yeah. Where was I? I generally don't remember. Crap, I don't remember. Oh well, you know what? That's fine. That's fine. Okay, so... Wait. Oh yeah, now I remember. Actually, I don't think I remember, but whatever. We'll just move on. So, the second way I thought about doing this reading stream is, I do some sort of storytelling session or something. I read out whatever I'm reading to you guys, and then you guys can just listen to me. Yeah, kind of just, you know, audiobooks. It's kind of like making my own audiobooks or something, which is pretty cool. I've always wanted audiobooks, but they're actually annoyingly expensive for whatever reason. So yeah. Also, I'm kind of not sure. But okay, like blah, blah, blah. Should I do this a bit further away? I'm not sure. I'm not sure how loudly I should be speaking, or how close I need to be to the mic. Probably, I should probably be a bit further away. Yeah. You know what? This is fine. Okay. Right. Maybe we should just start now. Yeah. So the way we're gonna do this today in this reading stream, actually, Considering how much I talked, it's probably not even going to be 30 minutes of stream, which is fine. I don't know if I can speak for an hour straight anyway, which is just fine. Okay, so the way we're gonna do it for this time is I'm going to be reading out this book aloud. 77 pages should not be too difficult to finish in about 2 to 3 stream. Yeah? Although I may be reading it a bit slower compared to how other people would usually read it, so forgive me. Just sit back, get some hot drinks or something. Maybe it's morning for you guys, maybe it's in the middle of the night. Get some warm drink, get comfy, and then do whatever you need or want to do to listen along. Yeah, just have fun, okay? Or rather, just relax. Okay, I think I mentioned this before. Today we're gonna be doing, or rather we're gonna be reading The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. Yeah, it's a sci-fi story because I like sci-fi. Let's begin. It begins with Chapter 1, Introduction. Actually, I should do a formal start for a bit. Okay. 3, 2, 1. The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. Chapter 1, Introduction. The time traveler, or so it will be convenient to speak of him, was expounding a recondite matter to us. His pale grey eyes shone and twinkled, and his usually pale face was flushed and animated. The fire burnt brightly, and the soft radiance of the incandescent lights in the lilies of silver caught the bubbles that flashed and passed in our glasses. Our chairs, being his patents, embraced and caressed us rather than submitted to be sat upon. And there was that luxurious after-dinner atmosphere when thought runs gracefully free of the trammels of precision. And he put it to us in this way, marking the points with a lean forefinger, as we sat and lazily fucking OBS, come on. OBS, please. OBS, please. OBS, please. Okay, I gotta admit some of these words are quite new to me. Even though I thought it was good in English already. It doesn't matter if it's a little bit scuffed today, I suppose. Because, test stream and stuff. I'm not sure why OBS is disconnecting quite a lot. Why? OBS, please, why? Nobody's using the internet today. Are you really going to be doing this to me? Curses. Okay, you know what? Let's try this. Don't know what I did? I turned off my browser. I closed my browser. I purged it from existence. I threw it into the dark realm. And then I pulled it back after dousing it in cold oil. Let's see how he likes it. Hehehe. Don't forget the rain BGM, because I like it when there is a rain in the background. Okay, I wonder if it's the browser or OBS, I'm not sure. They gotta put out a new update soon, because that's really annoying. Okay, let's actually start from the top. Okay. 3, 2, 1. The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. Chapter 1. Introduction. The time traveler, for so it will be convenient to speak of him, was expounding a recondite matter to us. His pale grey eyes shone and twinkled, and his usually pale face was flushed and animated. The fire burnt brightly, and the soft radiance of the incandescent lights in the lilies of silver caught the bubbles that flashed and passed in our eyes and our glasses. Our chairs, being his patents, embraced and caressed us rather than submitted to be sat upon, and there was that luxurious after-dinner atmosphere when thoughts runs gracefully free of the trammels of precision. And he put it to us in his way, marking the points with a lean forefinger, as we sat and lazily admired his earnestness over this new paradox as we thought it, and his vicinity. You must follow me carefully. I shall have to controvert one or two ideas that are almost universally accepted. The geometry, for instance, they taught you at school is founded on misconception. It's not that rather large a thing to expect us to begin with, said Philby, an argumentative person with red hair. I do not mean to ask you to accept anything without reasonable ground for it. You will soon admit as much as I need from you. You know, of course, that a mathematical line, a line of thickness nil, has no real existence. They taught you that? Neither has a mathematical plane. These things are mere abstractions. That is all right, said the psychologist. Nor, having only length, breadth, and thickness, can a cube have a real existence. There, I object, said Philby. Of course a solid body may exist, all real things, so most people think, but wait a moment. Can an instantaneous cube exist? Don't follow you, said Philby again. Can a cube that does not last for any time at all have any existence? Philby became pensive. Clearly, the time traveler proceeded, any real body must have an extension in 4 directions. It must have length, breadth, thickness, and duration. But through a natural infirmity of the flesh, which I will explain to you in a moment, we will incline to overlook this fact. There are really 4 dimensions, 3 which we call the 3 planes of space, and the 4th, time. There is, however, a tendency to draw an unreal distinction between the former 3 dimensions and the latter, because it happens that our consciousness moves intermittently in one direction along the latter from the beginning to the end of our lives. That, said a very young man, making a spasmodic efforts to relight his cigar over the lamp. That is very clear indeed. Now, it is very remarkable that this is so extensively overlooked, continued the time traveler with a slight accession of cheerfulness. Really, this is what is meant by the 4th dimension. Oh no, wait, hold on. I gotta restart that paragraph. Now, it is very remarkable that this is so extensively overlooked, continued the time traveler, with a slight accession of cheerfulness. Really, this is what is meant by the 4th dimension. Though some people who talk about the 4th dimension do not know they mean it. It is only another way of looking at time. There is no difference between time and any of the 3 dimensions of space, except that our consciousness moves along it. But some foolish people have got hold of the wrong side of the idea. You have all heard what they have to say about this 4th dimension? I have not, said the provincial mayor. It is simply this. That space, as our mathematicians have it, is spoken of as having three dimensions, which one may call length, breadth, and thickness, and is always definable by reference to three planes, each at right angles to the others. But some philosophical people have been asking why three dimensions particularly? Why not another direction at right angles to the other three? And have even tried to construct a four-dimensional geometry. Professor Simon Newcomb was expounding this to the New York Mathematical Society only a month or so ago. You know how on a flat surface, which has only two dimensions, we can represent a figure of a three-dimensional solid. And similarly, they think that by models of three dimensions, they could represent one of four if they could master the perspective of the thing. See? I think so, murmured the provincial mayor, and knitting his brows, he lapsed into an introspective state, his lips moving as one who repeats mystic words. Yes, I think I see it now, he said after some time, brightening in a quite transitory manner. Well, I do not mind telling you, I have been at work upon this geometry of four dimensions for some time. Some of my results are curious. For instance, here is a portrait of a man at 8 years old, another at 15, another at 17, another at 23, and so on. All of these are evidently sections, as it were, three-dimensional representations of his four-dimensioned being, which is a fixed and unalterable thing. Scientific people, proceeded the time traveler, after the pause required for a proper assimilation of this, know very well that time is only a kind of space. Here is a popular scientific diagram, a weather record. This line I trace with my finger shows the movement of the barometer. Yesterday it was so high, yesterday night it fell, then this morning it rose again, and so gently upward to here. Surely the mercury did not trace this line in any of the dimensions of space generally recognized, but certainly it traced such a line, and that line therefore we must conclude was along the time dimension. But, said the medical man, staring hard at a coal in the fire, if time is really only a fourth dimension of space, why is it, and why has it always been, regarded as something different? And why cannot we move in time as we move about in the other dimensions of space? The time traveler smiled. Are you so sure we can move freely in space? Right and left we can go, backward and forward freely enough, and men always have done so. I admit we move freely in two dimensions, but how about up and down? Gravitation limits us there. Not exactly, said the medical man. There are balloons. But before the balloons, save for spasmodic jumping and the inequalities of the surface, man had no freedom of vertical movement. Still they could move a little up and down, said the medical man. Easier, far easier down than up. And you cannot move at all in time. You cannot get away from the present moment. Oh wait, that was someone else. Okay. Let's go back a little bit. Not exactly, said the medical man. There are balloons. But before the balloons, save for a spasmodic jumping at the inequalities of the surface, man had no freedom of vertical movement. Still they could move a little up and down, said the medical man. Easier, far easier down than up. And you cannot move at all in time. You cannot get away from the present moment. My dear sir, this is just where you are wrong. That is just where the whole world has gone wrong. We're always getting away from the present moment. Our mental existences, which are immaterial and have no dimensions, are passing along the time dimension with a uniform velocity from the cradle to the grave. Just as we should travel down if we began our existence 50 miles above the Earth's surface. But the great difficulty is this, interrupted the psychologist. You can move about in all directions of space, but you cannot move about in time. That is the germ of my great discovery. But you are wrong to say that we cannot move back in time. Alright. But you are wrong to say that we cannot move about in time. For instance, if I am recalling an incident very vividly, I go back to the instant of its occurrence. I become absent-minded, as you say. I jump back for a moment. Of course, we have no means of staying back for any length of time, any more than a savage or an animal has of staying 6 feet above the ground. But a civilized man is better off than the savage in this respect. He can go up against gravitation in a balloon, and why should he not hope that ultimately he may be able to stop or accelerate his drift along the time dimension, or even turn about and travel the other way? Oh, this, began Philby, is all... Why not? Said the time traveler. It's against reason, said Philby. What reason? Said the time traveler. You can show black as white by argument, said Philby, but you will never convince me. Possibly not, said the time traveler. But now you begin to see the object of my investigations into the geometry of 4 dimensions. Long ago I had a vague inkling of a machine to travel through time, exclaimed the very young man. That shall travel indifferently in any direction of space and time as the driver determines. Philby contented himself with laughter. But I have experimental verification, said the time traveler. It would be remarkably convenient for the historian, the psychologist suggested. One might travel back and verify the accepted account of the Battle of Hastings, for instance. Don't you think it would attract attention? Said the medical man. Our ancestors had no great tolerance for anachronisms. One might get one's Greek from the very lips of Homer and Plato, the very young man thought. In which case they would certainly plough you for the little go. The German scholars have improved Greek so much. Then there is the future, said the young man. Just think, one might invest all one's money, leave it to accumulate an interest, and hurry on ahead. To discover a society, said I, erected on a strictly communistic basis. Of all the wild extravagant theories, began the psychologist. Yes, so it seemed to me, and so I never talked of it until... Experimental verification, cried I. You are going to verify that? The experiment, cried Philby, who was getting brain weary. That's your experiment anyhow, said the psychologist, though it's all humbug, you know. The time traveler smiled around at us. Then, still smiling faintly, and with his hands still deep in his trousers pockets, he walked away out of the room, slowly, and we heard his slippers shuffling down the long passage to his laboratory. The psychologist looked at us. I wonder what he's got. Some sleight of hand trick or another, said the medical man, and Philby tried to tell us about a conjurer he had seen at Burslem, but before he had finished his preface, the time traveler came back, and Philby's anecdotes collapsed. Chapter 2: The Time Machine. The thing the time traveler held in his hand was a glittering metallic framework, scarcely larger than a small clock and very delicately made. There was ivory in it and some transparent crystalline substance. And now I must be explicit, for this that follows, unless this explanation is to be accepted, is an absolutely unaccountable thing. He took one of the small octagonal tables that was scattered about the room and set it in front of the fire with two legs on the hearthrug. On this table he placed the mechanism. Then he drew up a chair and sat down. The only other object on the table was a small shaded lamp, the bright light of which fell upon the model. There were also perhaps a dozen candles about, two in brass candlesticks upon the mantel, and several ensconced, so that the room was brilliantly illuminated. I sat in a low armchair nearest the fire, and I drew this forward so as to be almost between the time traveler and the fireplace. Philby sat behind him, looking over his shoulder. The medical man and the provincial mayor watched him in profile from the right, the psychologist from the left. The very young man stood behind the psychologist. We were all on the alert. It appears incredible to me that any kind of trick, however subtly conceived and however adroitly done, could have been played upon us under these conditions. The time traveler looked at us, and then at the mechanism. "Well," said the psychologist. "This little affair," said the time traveler, resting his elbows on the table and pressing his hands together above the apparatus, "is only a model. This little affair, is only a model. It is my plan for a machine to travel through time. You will notice that it looks singularly askew, and that there is an odd twinkling appearance about this bar, as though it was in some way unreal." He pointed to the part with his finger. "Also, here is one little white lever, and here is another." The medical man got up out of his chair and peered into the thing. "It's beautifully made," he said. "It took 2 years to make," retorted the time traveler. Then, when we had all imitated the action of the medical man, he said, Now I want you clearly to understand that this lever being pressed over sends the machine gliding into the future, and this other reverses the motion. The saddle represents the seat of a time traveler. Presently I am going to press the lever, and off the machine will go. It will vanish, pass into future time, and disappear. Have a good look at the thing. Look at the table too, and satisfy yourselves that there is no trickery. I don't want to waste this model, and then be told I am a quack." There was a minute's pause, perhaps. The psychologist seemed about to speak to me, but changed his mind. Then the time traveler put forth his finger towards the lever. "No," he said suddenly. "Lend me your hand." And turning to the psychologist, he took that individual's hand in his own and told him to put out his forefinger. so that it was the psychologist himself who sent forth the model time machine on its interminable voyage. We all saw the lever turn. I am absolutely certain there was no trickery. There was a breath of wind, and the lamp aflame jumped. One of the candles on the mantel was blown out, and the little machine suddenly swung round and became indistinct. Was seen as a ghost for a second, perhaps, as an eddy of faintly glimmering brass and ivory, and it was gone, vanished. Save for the lamp, and the table was bare. Everyone was silent for a minute. Then Philby said he was damned. The psychologist recovered from his stupor and suddenly looked under the table. At that, the time traveler laughed cheerfully. "Well," he said, with the reminiscence of the psychologist. Then getting up, he went to the tobacco jar on the mantel and with his back to us began to fill his pipe. We stared at each other. "Look here," said the medical man. "Are you in earnest about this? Do you seriously believe that the machine has traveled into time?" "Certainly," said the time traveler, stooping to light a spill at the fire. Then he turned, lighting his pipe, to look at the psychologist's face. The psychologist, to show that he was not unhinged, helped himself to a cigar and tried to light it uncut. "What is more, I have a big machine nearly finished in there." He indicated the laboratory. "And when that is put together, I mean to have a journey on my own account." "You mean to say that the machine has traveled into the future?" said Philby. "Into the future or the past, I don't for certain know which." After an interval, the psychologist had an inspiration. "It must have gone into the past if it has gone anywhere," he said. "Why?" said the time traveler. "Because I presume that it has not moved in space. And if it traveled into the future, it would still be here all this time. Since it must have traveled through this time." "But," said I, "if I traveled into the past, it would have been visible when we came first into the room. And last Thursday when we were here, and the Thursday before that, and so forth." "Serious objections," remarked the provincial mayor with an air of impartiality, turning towards the time traveler. "Not a bit," said the time traveler, and to the psychologist, "You think you can explain that?" "It's presentation below the threshold, you know, a diluted presentation." "Of course," said the psychologist, and reassured us. That's a simple point of psychology. I should have thought of it. It's plain enough, and it helps the paradox delightfully. We cannot see it, nor can we appreciate this machine, any more than we cannot see it, nor can we appreciate this machine, any more than we can the spoke of a wheel spinning or a bullet flying through the air. If it is traveling through time 50 times or 100 times faster than we are, if it gets through a minute while we get through a second, the impression it creates will of course be only 1/15th or 1/100th of what it would make if it were not traveling in time. That's plain enough." He passed his hand through the space in which the machine had been. "You see?" he said, laughing. We sat and stared at the vacant table for a minute or so. Then the time traveler asked us what we thought of it all. "It sounds plausible enough tonight," said the medical man. "But wait until tomorrow. Wait for the common sense of the morning." "Would you like to see the time machine itself?" asked the time traveler. and therewith taking the lamp in his hand, he led the way down the long, draughty corridor to his laboratory. I remember vividly the flickering light, his queer, broad head in silhouette, the dance of the shadows, how we all followed him, puzzled but incredulous, and how there in the laboratory we beheld a larger edition of the little mechanism which we had seen vanish from our eyes. Parts were of nickel, parts of ivory, parts had certainly been filed or sawn out of rock crystal. The thing was generally complete, but the twisted crystalline bars lay unfinished upon the bench beside some sheets of drawings, and I took one up for a better look at it. Quartz, it seems to be. "Look here," said the medical man. "Are you perfectly serious, or is this like a trick, like a ghost you showed us last Christmas?" "Upon that machine," said the time traveler, holding the lamp aloft, "I intend to explore time. Is that plain? I was never more serious in my life." None of us quite knew how to take it. I caught Philby's eye over the shoulder of the medical man, and he winked at me solemnly. That should be good enough for today. The next chapter is chapter 3, which we will continue next time. How was it, by the way? Did you have fun? I think we can actually do this. 20 minutes per chapter? That's actually doable. Yeah, it's actually only been 40 minutes on my stream, I know. But not gonna lie though, reading constantly for an hour straight is probably going to be quite taxing on my throat, and I'm not sure if I can do this. At the very least, not for a very long time. But yeah, that was actually pretty fun. I actually got quite into the story at the end there, for a little bit. But I did get a little bit tired, although I do wonder if I start earlier, maybe I can have enough energy to keep going for a little bit longer. Who knows? But that was good. That was good. Chapter 2 is done. The next chapter is chapter 3, The Time Traveler Returns. But that's going to be for the next time I stream. Although the next time is probably not going to be a reading stream. Probably should try to finish Fallout as soon as possible. Fallout 1 is a good game, but the gameplay itself does not age very well. Yeah. Anyway, I think it is time for me to end the stream. Thanks for listening along to my read along. I love reading. I wish I never gave up on reading when I got older, because reading is such a big hobby of mine, because I didn't get internet until I was maybe 15 years old, I think. So I was pretty late on the internet thing, and games and books were, consoles, PlayStation 1, PlayStation, actually I only had PlayStation 1. PlayStation 1 and books were the only two things that kept me busy and entertained during my younger years. And I still play games today, but I kind of stopped reading, and I hope that this will help me get back into reading again. Anyway, thanks for listening along. I hope you all enjoyed reading along or listening to me read. I'll see you next time, okay? Leave a like, leave a comment, tell me if you like it or not, and subscribe if you want to see more on the next stream, and I'll see you next time.